Welcome to the press conference of the Public Accounts Committee. The Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Xu Kafei, will speak first. After two other members have spoken, we will open the floor to the media for questions. Thank you. Thank you, friends from the media, for attending this press conference. The Audit Commission has submitted report number 83 out of the 8 chapters covered in the report. The committee has decided to hold public hearings on 2 of the chapters, which include Chapter 1, NAMI, Nano and Advanced Materials Institute, and Chapter 7, Tuen Mun Chatlab Kok Link. As for the 6 other chapters, the relevant bureaus and departments and organizations have, at the request of the committee, addressed members' issues of concern in writing. I will first invite the 2 respective lead members to briefly introduce the 2 chapters I mentioned earlier. I'll first ask the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Paul Tse, to brief friends of the media on Chapter 1, NAMI. Thank you. At the address earlier today made by the Chairman, we talked about, for the chapter NAMI, we expressed grave concern on 2 issues. 1, the failure to meet performance targets. The second issue relates to corporate governance. As you may know, in 2024, the government announced that NAMI would be merged with other institutions or another institution. But with the report of the Director of Audit, we have observed several issues that relate not only to NAMI or research institutes in general. It is for the subvented departments and organizations. There may be issues with corporate governance. We also had an oral question at the council meeting today on regulation of public bodies. We note that NAMI performed very badly in this regard. For 4 out of 5 years, they didn't make the relevant targets. Whether in terms of returns or cost effectiveness, they have failed. I will not go into details here. Another issue is with corporate governance. The then CEO, with the approval of business trips, they would vary for personal reasons the arrangements of the trips, resulting in additional expenditure. We have raised some concerns. It is not ideal, but of course we have a new CEO now. We know that the new CEO has plugged that loophole, and they have promulgated relevant guidelines. We believe the mistakes are now in the past, so we should look ahead. On governance of other public organizations, I have touched on that in the report. As for laboratory safety and other regulation, I will answer questions if necessary from friends of the media. Otherwise, that's it from me. All right, the next lead member, Mr. Look Chung Hong, is responsible for the chapter on Tuen Mun Chatlab Kok Link. Thank you. The link is an important infrastructure. It brings about great benefits to the area. It also provides connections between Airport New Territories West as well as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. We think there is much room for improvement in the dealings, especially in relation to increasing cost effectiveness and enhancing planning and design. All of these would factor into the cost effectiveness of the project. There are many media reports saying that we have gone over budget for this project. The Public Accounts Committee on this issue believes that it is not ideal that they have made use of other provisions. But strictly speaking, for the 8 contracts, they are $32.6913 billion. The final total is $36.6 billion. It is 12% higher than the original contract sum, plus $5.5 billion in other expenditure. It is still less than the funding approved. That is $46.708 billion. As you may remember, the LegCo would approve funding that is essentially a tentative proposal. Now we have adopted a parallel tendering procedure so that the estimates provided would reflect more accurately the eventual actual cost. We had the lowest bidder wins arrangement or approach before. We will not see as much of that, I believe, in future. But I think there is something to learn here. Say for contract B, for reclamation, the estimates of materials are very far off. And the performance rating given is poor. So, due to the fact that there has to be additional procurement of fill materials, we have an additional cost of $115 million in fill material costs. Another relates to piling. Under contract A, due to issues with investigation, they had to make use of longer piles than before, and contract A was issued with 31 variation orders, and that cost approximately $50 million. We have seen many instances of variation orders causing additional costs. That is not ideal. I myself am looking ahead. The project will bring about benefits, but then for connecting roads, say Tuen Mun Bypass, before it was called Tuen Mun West Bypass, it has yet to be taken forward. In the mid or short term, how can we resolve congestion in the area in Tuen Mun? The PAC has made some requests. We urge the administration to put in place some improvement measures. If necessary, friends of the media may ask questions on this.
Thank you. Do members have anything to supplement? Mr. Louis Long. Chairman, just to supplement, today you have already made an address at the Legislative Council meeting and you have highlighted the major points, so I don't want to repeat them here. But I would like to point out 2 things. In Chapter 7, about the Tuen Mun Chek Lap Ko Link Road project, we are very concerned that for one of the contracts, there has been project delay, and then there is knock-on delay effect on 2 other projects, so over 100 days, and so the completion date has been delayed, and there is additional costs, prolongation costs of about $1.6 billion. So we would like to say that if there is a major project in future involving a number of contracts, then they should look into the interface and the management of the various contracts involved. Similarly, in Chapter 3 of the report, that is page 74 of the report, it covers about the management of electrical waste and the recycling of electrical plates. That is the construction of the V Park. They face similar problems. So the projects cannot be commissioned in time, like the Protector Responsibility Scheme on waste, electrical, and electronic equipment. And there is also delay in the issue of the license. So this reflects that for the various departments within the government, there should be better coordination. I want to point out these two issues because for the Northern Metropolis and for other major infrastructure projects, they will be coming on stream. Especially for the Northern Metropolis, we will have the development of land parcels. We will take that approach. And definitely it will involve various works contracts, and they have to tie in with each other. So I hope that the government can learn from this experience. So for the experiences that we learn in chapters 3 and 7, we hope that for future mega projects, there should be better coordination amongst the departments concerned so as to reduce unnecessary delay and as a result, increase in the project costs. Ms. Carmen Ken? Thank you, Chair. I fully agree with the Deputy Chair. Well, for Chapter 1 is about NAMI, and we know that it will be merged with ESTRI. And people may wonder why we have a hearing on that because NAMI will be merged soon. But the Deputy Chair has pointed out that after the hearing of the PAC, for the Bureau concerned, we hope that they will review the arrangements for the various R&D centers so that we can make references to the recommendations. For example, like the CEO is having self-approval and also may delegate approval to his subordinate. We hope that these will not happen again. And during the discussion, we talked about these R&Ds. They are non-government bodies, and they are not statutory bodies. Should there be a different way of governing them? Actually, at the Legislative Council meeting this morning, we have a question on the management of the corporate bodies, the monitoring of public organizations. So for the audit, they have been liaising with the government since 1988, so that was some 20 years ago. So I wonder whether it is time now for us to also audit the public organizations and the non-statutory bodies as a whole. And then we should be able to cover all the organizations concerned. For this R&D is concerned, the management needs to be touched up. Well, for example, one of the committees should be having weekly meetings, but instead they just use exchange of correspondences and emails. And then also on the declaration of interest, there is also room for improvement. So although it is not a statutory body, but we do see different kinds of problems concerning governance of such bodies. Thank you, Chair. That's all I want to add. So I will now open the floor to members of the press. Any questions from members, press members? Any questions? Yes, I'm from Singtao Daily. Talking about the Tuen Mun Chek Lap Kok Ring Road, there has been an overcost of about $100 billion. So I wonder whether the government will exercise any punishment for the party concerned. Will there be a deterrent punishment? Because the amount involved is quite huge. Mr. Michael Look? Well, during the PAC hearing, some members have raised this question. And the administration has talked about how they will liaise with the consultant companies in future. And during my report to the Legislative Council, I have also mentioned that if in future there are similar mega projects and if the consultant is not performing well, and if there are discrepancies, there should be a measure to claim from them. So we have already pointed this out. Any further supplement? Ms. Eunice Yong? Well, as stated in the report about the question of this 100 billion, for contractor A and B, they cannot fulfill the post-contract works in place, and then there has to be extension of time of 779 days and 475 days respectively. So that's why there is an additional cost of $0.64 billion. For the follow-up action, we have suggested that if possible, they should try to reduce the interface between various contracts. For example, can we ask the same contract to undertake the reclamation work and the design and other follow-up work? Because if you use the same consultant, there will be less communication issues. And for B, we want to encourage a contractor to come into the picture at an early stage so that they will have a better proposal to the consultancy company, and there will be better integration so that the project completion time will be met or be better. Any further supplement? Any further questions from press members? If not, any further things to add from members? If not, thank you very much for attending the press conference. Thank you.